This video will discuss figuring out the purpose of behaviors in order to identify replacement behaviors or positive behaviors or responses that we encourage children to use in place of problematic behaviors. This is one of the longer videos you'll have, so stick with me. When identifying potential replacement behaviors, it is important to consider why the negative behavior is occurring. All behaviors communicate something, so it is your job to figure out what the problematic behavior your child is engaging in is trying to communicate to you. You can analyze your child's behavior using the ABCs of behavior system that you learned at the beginning to figure out the why. That is, identify the antecedent, the behavior, and the consequence, and determine what happened before and after the behavior. Playing detective to identify the functions and ABCs of behavior will help you identify appropriate replacement behaviors. There are 4 primary reasons or functions for why problematic behaviors occur. Often, this is attention seeking. Crying and throwing tantrums are great examples of attention-seeking behaviors. Other times, they're escape behaviors or situations where the child is trying to avoid doing something that they might find challenging or that they just don't want to do, like read a book or complete math homework. Access to tangibles is a third function of behavior and is somewhat self-explanatory, but it's also very important. Children may engage in certain behaviors because they are looking to gain access to a tangible reward. This may be something like using electronics or getting a dessert that they want. When trying to access a tangible reward, a child may scream, cry, beg, or throw a tantrum. They might get aggressive, like hitting or biting, or even just grabbing the item directly from someone else. Finally, sensory stimulation occurs when children want to experience a pleasant sensation or replace discomfort. This function is very common for children on the autism spectrum, but can also occur for children with other neurodevelopmental disorders like ADHD or when children are experiencing anxiety. Sensory stimulation can include things like jumping, skipping, hand flapping, tapping one's feet, spinning in circles, or rocking back and forth. For preschool and school-age children who are verbal, you can also talk with your child and try to find out what is leading to them engaging in the problematic behavior. Help them figure out the why. Problem solving together to better understand their behavior so that you can more quickly identify a potential replacement behavior or determine if another strategy like planned ignoring or providing support to address a skill deficit the child may have. It is critical that your replacement behaviors get at the same why as the problematic behavior. So once you've identified why the problematic behavior is occurring, you can determine a positive, pro-social, or communicative way to get the same result as that problematic behavior. For example, encouraging your child to ask for help rather than ripping up their homework, or asking a parent to use an iPad rather than taking it from their sister's hands. This could also be something like having them proactively go to their cool-down corner to take a break from a challenging task rather than getting upset and throwing a tantrum. While this may seem obvious or like something children already know how to do, we often need to teach and then shape the children's use of replacement behaviors in order for them to create a habit of engaging in it. In order to be effective, the replacement behavior needs to be easier and more effective than the problematic behavior. This can be really challenging because problematic behaviors like screaming or grabbing something are easy to do and they often work. They give the child attention or the tangible reward that they wanted. These behaviors are often easier to use than verbally communicating someone's wants and needs. As a result, in order to teach and shape the replacement behavior, we need to make sure that we are consistently reinforcing the use of the positive replacement behavior. Initially, this is going to be done all the time, every time that the child uses the replacement behavior. For example, if you are trying to change your child's habit of physically taking the iPad from you or from their sibling, during that first step, which is teaching the child to use the replacement behavior, every time that they ask you to use the iPad, you're going to give them the iPad for maybe 5 minutes so that they can take a break. This way, you provide them with the same result that they would have gotten when they physically grabbed the iPad, the problematic behavior, but this time you're giving them that result when they use the replacement behavior instead. This eliminates the aggression that we were seeing before, where the child was grabbing the iPad, and gets the child communicating in a positive way instead. This consistent reinforcement builds the buy-in that we need from the child in order to get them to continue using this replacement behavior in the long term. Remember, replacement behaviors need to be easier and more effective than the negative behavior in order for the child to use it. This can be challenging, especially if your child is asking for breaks every 5 minutes while doing their schoolwork. But it's important to remember that we're not going to be in this step 1 forever, where we're teaching them to use the replacement behavior. If we don't effectively teach the replacement behavior up front, then the child will easily slip back to using the problematic behavior to get what they want. Once step 1, or teaching, is over, we can move to step 2, which is the shaping portion, where we slowly transition to delaying how soon they get the desired outcome, and eventually can say no entirely to the desired outcome, at least some of the time. During the shaping step, it is critical that you still provide positive reinforcement for using the replacement behavior, such as saying, "Thank you so much for asking to use the iPad," rather than just grabbing it. "I know you want to use the iPad right now, but you just had a 5-minute break, so I'll come get you in 10 minutes and then you can have another iPad break." As they are using the replacement behavior more consistently, you can use the same approach, but eventually fully deny access to the iPad at that time, while still acknowledging and reinforcing their use of that positive communication. Depending on the child, how long you spend in step 1, the teaching phase, versus step 2, the shaping phase, may differ. And sometimes you might even need to go back to step 1 if it seems like the child is slipping back into old habits of using the problematic behavior to get what they want. Finally, it's important that we highlight that you can pair the use of replacement behaviors with reducing or eliminating the why of engaging in the problematic behavior. That is, in addition to providing access to the why when the replacement behavior occurs, like we just discussed, you can also minimize their access to the desired result that they want when they do engage in the problematic behavior. For example, when attention-seeking aggression occurs, such as hitting you during a tantrum, rather than getting upset and giving attention to the child that reinforces that problematic behavior, you can redirect the child or provide a calm but brief prompt for them to go to their cool-down corner or to take a timeout, where you're then providing minimal attention, not giving eye contact to the child, as a way to help them have time to calm down while still keeping them safe. Remember, your usual reaction of yelling, reprimanding, or hitting the child back in these situations would actually reinforce that problematic behavior of aggression. So dialing down how strong your reaction is in this example can actually help reduce the likelihood that that problematic behavior of hitting will occur again, while still communicating that this is an unacceptable behavior. Okay, so we just covered a lot of information in this video. So let's review. In order to effectively use replacement behaviors, we first want to use the ABCs of behavior to figure out why a problematic behavior is occurring. And then we can identify a replacement behavior that gets at the same why and make sure that through teaching and shaping, that replacement behavior is easier and more effective than the original problematic behavior was.